Mother-in-law in the wild. The Insane Granny Saga Part 1. October 3rd, 2016. So this happened earlier today over the course of about 4 minutes. Some relevant background: I broke my ankle and a few toes on opposite feet weeks ago. My cast was removed 3 weeks ago, so I'm mobile and now down to using one crutch, mostly for balance. This has meant that my brother has been driving me around everywhere, including to and from work. He was running late today, so I wobbled my way down to a supermarket to grab milk and told him to pick me up outside the store at the little pickup drop-off point by the entrance. So I was sitting on the bench outside the store when a wild mother-in-law appeared with her daughter-in-law and grandkid. I'm not sure how old the kid was. I'm no good at judging kids' ages, but based on her stream of babbling, I don't think she could speak just yet. She was sitting in the little chair thing in the trolley and seemed to be quite happy. Mother-in-law was an older woman who was walking slowly but seemed to be fine. Daughter-in-law parked the trolley and kid beside me and told Mill to wait here. She'll go get the car so Mill didn't have to walk across the car park. From what I got from the conversation, Mill had been moaning about her feet and wanted to sit down. Dill was trying to get her to sit on the bench and Mill was martyring herself. I promptly put a stop to all of that by offering the Mill my dry part of the bench and moving further away to lean against the wall. Mill didn't even look at me before sitting down like she'd just been crowned. Dill kissed the kid, told her Mummy will be back in a moment. You be good for Granny, and then we'll go for a fun ride in the car. Kid's happy and excited for car ride. Mum disappears. As soon as Dill was out of earshot, the Mill turned to the kid and said, "You're such a bad little girl. See, Mummy's leaving you here. She's gone without you. No car for you." Cue kid bursting into tears and screaming for her mum. I'm not sure how much the kid understood of what the Mill had said. It may have been all, or she could have just understood the no car part. Either way, it was a shitty thing to say to your grandchild, or any child, to be honest. I looked right at her and gave her the raised eyebrow look and some serious glaring, which probably gave away the fact that I'd heard her. She completely changed her tune, loudly telling the kid that she was only joking and Mummy will be right back. This didn't really have much effect on the kid, and she was working herself into a right state, so the Mill decided to take her out of the trolley seat. She plonked the screaming kid on her feet, then turned back to sit on the bench. Guys, this kid could have given Usain Bolt a run for his money. The moment she had her balance, she made a run for it, screaming for her mummy, straight towards the road. There was about 15 feet between the road and me still leaning against the wall, and about half that between the kid and the road. In the time it took for me to realize the kid was heading for the road, and that Mill hadn't seen a thing, the kid had made it past the bollard. I have never moved so fast in my life. I managed to grab the kid and make it back to the pavement before my ankle realized that a full sprint this soon was not a good idea. Neither of my legs were interested in supporting me after that, so I just sort of crumpled into a heap on the pavement with this kid. The next thing I know, the deal is they're taking the kid from me. It was her car that she'd run in front of. Dill was crying. The kid was crying. I was crying. It fucking hurt, and Mill was still sitting on the bench. Anyway, I blame it on the adrenaline, because normally I wouldn't get involved, but I told the deal exactly what had happened, all of it, even what Mill had said to the kid. When I left, Dill was still screaming at her Mill. October 4th, 2016. Firstly, the ankle, it's sore, swollen and bruised, but thankfully not rebroken. Doctor says it's badly sprained and will set my recovery back, but I don't need to go back in the cast. So because I had an appointment with my physio this morning, I decided wait for that instead of heading to emergency room last night. Long story short, my physio was convinced my ankle had rebroken and set me up to X-ray. The physio department is also located in the hospital. A nurse stuck me in a wheelchair to take me and we got chatting. Nurse: "So how did you manage to hurt yourself this time around?" Me: "Oh, I chased after a kid that ran into traffic." Nurse: "My God, how did that happen?" "When was this?" Me: "Yesterday." Gets ready to tell the story. Nurse: "Wait, was this at supermarket address?" Me: "Yeah." Nurse: "Oh my God, that was my niece." The Mill is her mother. Apparently her sill, so the deal from yesterday took off and left her Mill, the nurse's mother, at the store yesterday. She's pretty sure her brother and her Sil are now no contact, as her Sil has been pushing for no contact, but her brother, Dill's husband, is a mummy's boy and had been reluctant. She's already no contact with her mother after she caught her intentionally pinching her newborn. She also told me that her niece is fine, but her Sil got a big fright. So there you go. It's a damn small world. I had 100 questions for her, but thought that might be a bit rude. I'm not sure if I'll run into her again. It wasn't really clear where in the hospital she worked or what she actually does, but you never know. October 11th, 2016. I really didn't expect to have an update for this again. I was pretty sure it was all over. I was wrong. I had another physio appointment today and ran into the kid's aunt again. It turns out she's training to be a physio, so I'll probably see her a lot. After my appointment, she asked if she could talk to me, so we had a sit down and a chat. Turns out insane Granny has gone completely bananas. She's apparently got enough sense about her to realize that the kid's mom now has a damn good reason to go no contact along with the kid, and could now probably convince her husband, kid's dad, to go no contact too. So, knowing she is probably about to be cut off, she made a preemptive strike against the kid's mom and dad. She called the police and told them about the incident in my original post, except she completely changed the story. According to her, the kid's mom was being mean and neglectful to the kid, and insane Granny called her out on it, which evolved into an argument. While they were arguing, the kid ran off into the road. Insane Granny noticed and ran after her. The kid's mom then snatched the kid from Granny and left Granny at the store. No mention of me. Based on how quickly things have moved, they think that insane Granny told the police this story on the day of the incident, if not the day after. I'm not sure what the rules are around the world, but here, in Scotland, the police have to investigate, and they also have to inform social services, who then have to do an initial assessment, like talking to the kid's school and doctor. Basically, there are a few compulsory boxes to be ticked before deciding whether or not to carry out a more in-depth investigation, and there isn't much you can do to stop it. So the police dropped in to visit the kid's mom and dad last Thursday. The kid's mom told her version of events but couldn't really give much specifics as she wasn't really there. She only really knew what I'd told her. So the police and social services now have two conflicting reports, one of which claims the involvement of a third party, me. The next day they received notice that social services would be in touch. This has all lit a fire under the kid's dad's ass, and he confronted insane Granny. The highlights include her endgame is to get custody of the kid. She hopes the kid's mom will be jailed. She admitted to lying to the police, but is confident the kid's mom can't prove what actually happened because there's no way she'd be able to find me to corroborate. The kid's aunt was told all this over the weekend, and while everyone seems to be sure that both the police and social services won't find any problems, they're understandably nervous. The aunt didn't tell the kid's mom and dad that she'd met me in the hospital for two reasons: she didn't actually have my permission to do so, and definitely didn't have my permission to give out my contact details. Basically, the aunt asked if I'd be willing to give my side of the story to the police and social services, and could the kid's parents contact me. I've agreed, and the aunt is going to pass everything on to the kid's parents. Chances are they won't need me to do anything, but you never know. I also pointed out that the security cameras for the store would have caught everything, and that will probably be the police's first stop. So the drama continues. October 16th, 2016. So things have gotten interesting. The kid's mom contacted me, and we met up for coffee yesterday. She's a really nice lady who is under a lot of stress. I told her about Reddit, and she said she'd have a browse, though I have no idea if she was just being polite or not. She ended up a bit of a ranting mess, but I don't blame her, to be honest. She did clear up a few things though, the big one being that the insane Granny didn't call the police. She called a friend of hers who works in the social services. Insane Granny gave this social services friend her version of events, and the friend officially reported the kid's mom. That's how the police became involved. Social services contacted them, as they believed the kid to be in immediate danger. The police have found that the kid is in no immediate danger, but they're still investigating what happened at the store. I'm going to give them my statement at some point next week. and that should hopefully be the end of it. Social service, on the other hand, is a totally different can of worms. Regardless of how they got involved, they still have to do an initial assessment and will also be investigating the incident at the store. From what the kid's mom told me, insane Granny's social service friend is either pushing everything or is actually in charge of the investigation. So far, the social service friend has mostly been doing her job, though rather invasively. She's allowed to speak to all of the kids' parents' neighbors, co-workers, the kids' school, and the kids' doctor. What she isn't allowed to do is show up at the kids' parents' house with insane Granny to try to force a reconciliation. Apparently, insane Granny really went for it with the manipulation and gaslighting in front of the social services friend. She seems to be trying to make the kid's mom look like the insane one. Between bouts of fake crying, she acted concerned about the kid's mom's mental state, saying she must be hallucinating because she is remembering the incident wrong. Said that the kid should be placed in her, insane Granny's, care until all this nonsense is sorted. Asked her son, the kid's dad, how the divorce proceedings are going. They are not divorcing. She was trying to make it look like they are to her friend. Told the kid's mom that she was glad she was feeling well enough to clean the house and asked her if she'd managed to feed the kid today. When the parents pulled out their trump card, the fact that Aunt is in contact with me, she started fake crying and asking why Aunt and kid's mom are lying to everyone. That the kid's mom had dragged Aunt into her delusion and that she, the kid's mom, needs help. Then she turned to the social services friend and told her that Aunt and kid's mom must be paying some poor homeless girl or student to lie for her. I totally called that, by the way. I knew she was going to accuse me of lying or something similar. At this point, the kid's mom admits she lost it at insane Granny and was screaming at her to leave. This was convincing enough for the social service friend to suggest to the kid's dad that he might want to have the kid's mom committed to a psychiatric facility. Once the social service friend and insane Granny left, the kid's parents argued. The gist of it being that the kid's dad was sort of taken in by his mother's claims. She didn't tell me much about that, just that he's sleeping in the guest room now. I offered to speak to him, but she thinks he should trust her without outside input. I've advised her to contact social services herself and give them my contact information so there is an official paper trail. An insane Granny's social worker friend can't claim she didn't know anything about me. I've also told her to make a complaint about social services friend, but she's nervous that doing so right now would make things worse. So that's where we are right now. I doubt there'll be much to update about once I speak to social services and the police, but the kids' parents are going to keep me in the loop, so if there is any more drama, please don't let there be more drama. I'll update again. October 17th, 2016. I'd asked the kid's mom if she wanted me to go and make a statement to the police or just wait until social services contact me. She wanted me to go to the police as she's trying to get a restraining order against insane Granny. So I went to give my statement to the police, and oh boy, has insane Granny done a number on them. After the kid's parents told her that they were in contact with me, she went to the police and told them that I might come in claiming to have been involved in the original store incident. She's managed to weave some intricate lie, essentially trying to discredit me before I gave evidence. This worked, to a certain extent. The officer in charge of the case made it very clear he thought I was lying and had been paid off. He asked me a few times how much I was making doing this and told me I could be arrested for wasting police time and perjury. He was immediately dismissive of me and condescending, which, I'm ashamed to say, I don't respond very well to. I mentioned in a comment on one of my previous posts that I work in forensics and I've been an expert witness, both educational and reporting. Implying that I could be accepting bribes or am lying could potentially kill my career. No way am I endangering my career, because some manipulative old lady has an officer wrapped around her gnarly old witch finger. Unfortunately, I have worked with more than my fair share of people who take one look at me and think I'm some sort of inexperienced, daft bimbo. I usually try to assert myself, and if that doesn't work, let them embarrass themselves. It happens eventually. In this case, it happened at the end of the interview when he asked me for my employment details. My official job title sounds way more important than it is. It has the words lead, investigator, forensic, and a few other ones in there that make me sound impressive. This definitely made him sit up and listen. I'm not gonna lie, I kinda chewed him out a bit, though he mostly realized himself that he messed up. He allowed himself to be completely manipulated by insane Granny, and I pointed out that it's pure luck that what I do for a living comes with a lot of credibility. What would have happened if I had been some poor student or someone uncomfortable in this type of situation, or heck, anyone else? So I set the record straight about insane Granny, well, what I know to be fact. I also filled him in off the record about what Aunt and the kid's mom told me, which I obviously can't prove. So we had a chat and I got a few things straightened out. One of which was that insane Granny did in fact contact the police after the incident at the store. I was originally told that she contacted the police who contacted social services. Then I was told that this wasn't true. Instead, insane Granny had contacted her social services friend, who reported the incident and somehow got the police involved. It was unclear how. So we think, complete speculation on my and the police's part here, by the way, that once insane Granny made a report to the police, and they said that they'd be contacting social services, insane Granny took it upon herself to contact her social services friend. So we definitely know that social services friend is not officially involved. A few of you who work in social services pretty much said the same thing. Insane Granny and social services friend are basically a rogue duo going around town trying to get dirt on the kid's mom. I've reported her and the police are now aware of her, though whether they just let social services deal with her or get themselves involved, I don't know yet. The officer also told me some of the things insane Granny has claimed about me. Now, before anyone loses their shit about him breaking confidentiality, he never actually gave me her side of the story or told me what she said in her statement. I got that from the kid's aunt. All he told me was what she said when she came in to warn him I'd be making a fake police report. So she's claimed to the police that I, someone she knows absolutely nothing about, and met for less than 5 minutes, am a poor student desperate for money. I have a history of lying to the police. She knows this because apparently I'm friends with the kid's mom's drug addict cousin. I might be a drug addict, she doesn't know. I once tried to seduce her son, the kid's dad, which is impressive as I've never met the guy before. Unfortunately, I gave him all my whats, so I don't have any to spare for you. I also asked about the security cameras outside the store. They didn't manage to get anything from them as they're aimed at the door, not the pickup area. I did have a look on the way in and thought it might be a long shot. So what's still to happen? The kid's parents will have an official social services visit sometime soon. Social services will most likely want to talk to me. The police will be going after insane Granny for wasting police time, filing a false police report. There will hopefully be a follow-up to my complaint about social service friend. October 25th, 2016. I don't think you'll need your drama llamas for this update. More likely you'll need your perplexed alpacas. Anyway, it's more weird than dramatic. As some of you know, because of the state of my ankle, I've been staying with my parents and younger brother for the last few months. Well, on Monday, my mom had the day off and was puttering around the house. My parents' place is in a very rural area of Scotland. Our closest neighbor is 6 miles away, and our house is at the end of what is essentially a mile-long dirt track. It's hard to find, and the only strangers we get out here are either forestry people who missed the forest access road or 1 or 2 brave, or quite possibly lost, Jehovah's Witnesses. Google Maps and sat-navs can't find it, and no one delivers out here except the Royal Mail. At around noon, a car pulled up, however no one got out. This isn't too unusual, as I said. It's usually someone lost. So she hung around at the front of the house in case they came over to ask directions. Instead, after a few minutes, the car left. About an hour later, same car pulls up, and the same thing happens again. Another hour goes by and they're back again. Only this time 2 women exited the car. They didn't go to the door. Instead, they decided to have a little snoop around. One tried to go around the back of the house, which is currently fenced off as our back garden is being used as a paddock for a pregnant mare and her foal. The other started trying to look in the windows, so my mom goes out and asks if she could help them. They very quickly say no. They were just looking before booking it back to their car and speeding off. Naturally, my mom was confused enough to tell my dad, brother and I what happened pretty much as soon as we got home. I've definitely been working in forensics too long, as my immediate reaction was that they were casing the place. Now, we have security cameras. They're not for the house or security. They were originally set up around our back garden so we could watch for when the mare went into labor. They were never removed because the foal turned out to be the reincarnation of Houdini, and then we had the mare covered again. One of the cameras is aimed at the gate that one of the women tried to open to get into the back garden. So we had a little look at the footage. Can you guess who was trying to open that gate? Yep, Insane Granny was at my parents' place. I have no idea who her friend was, what they wanted, or why they didn't talk to my mom, and I can only assume she got this address from the kid's parents. My money is on the dad. My mom had today off work as well, but she said no one turned up. However, I have a day off tomorrow, and apart from my brother being about in the morning, I'll be home alone. I know many of you will suggest calling the police for either harassment or trespassing, but in Scotland, trespassing is a civil matter, not a criminal one, so they can't get involved. There are laws regarding trespassing, but they're mostly to do with squatting in Scotland, has a lot of public access laws which essentially let people go wherever they want in regards to the rural areas. The stalking and harassment laws require 2 related incidents and must pass the reasonable person test. If the average person on the street was subject to this behavior, would they feel threatened, alarmed, or distressed? If not, then there was no offense. The offender must also be aware that what they are doing is causing distress. For example, if your mill wants access to your kids and keeps coming around to your house to complain every night for a fortnight, you become fed up and begin to feel distressed about your mill's constant visits. Your mill is aware that her behavior will cause you distress and is hoping to wear you down into letting her see your kids. I'm not particularly worried. Even with my leg, I'm pretty sure I could take her, and my brother has graciously let me borrow Bernard his old shinty stick with a kitchen knife duct taped to it. When I first broke my ankle, I also gave myself a head injury. My brother and I spent that night and the next day binge watching The Walking Dead, and I think he freaked himself out as 2 days later Bernard appeared. It's too close to Halloween for this shit. Okay, the general view is that I should contact the police about this. I'm planning to call both social services and the police tomorrow. I doubt the police will do anything, but as everyone has pointed out, at the very least it'll be documented. I've also texted the kid's mom, but I haven't heard back yet.